Hello, and welcome to Live from the Living Room, where we bring our conversation from one living room to another. This episode is going to be about us celebrating being Black in honor of Black History Month. And to start, we're just going to have everybody introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
I'm Beverly.
And I am Camille.
And I'm Imani. So let's get into the conversation. First question is, in your own words, what does it mean to be Black? I know it's so broad.
Yeah.
But it can be defined.
For me, it is really centered in embracing who I am as a person and accepting exactly how I am, flaws and all. That's what it means to be not only Black, but a native person to this land because it's mine. So that's really, it's about embracing and it's about empowerment and not changing for anybody just to assimilate to something else that is other than who I am. So that's really me. Don't do that.
Like that. Ain't get nothing like that.
Right, nothing like that.
I don't know, for me, because it's hard to say because I'm Black by all, skin tone and everything like that, but I'm Haitian first, in my opinion. Ever since I was raised, is how my mother raised me. It's like, you're Haitian. You don't adopt whatever. They have a slogan, as bad as it may be, like Black American, like you don't take that, like you don't take all the things that they do. But having gone to school here and lived here my whole life, I feel like I am still Black. I still get treated the same way, still get the same conversations. If they see me, they're not gonna be like, oh, she's Haitian. They're gonna be like, oh, she's Black. So I have a lot of those things that I live with, like being a Haitian American at this point. And I think for me, it's just you're always under scrutiny. Like you're always being watched. So because you're always being watched, it puts a lot of pressure to be like the best version of yourself, to do the right things, or you're always the standard. I feel like white people are always looking at you as a standard. True. Like they're like, oh, she wears this outfit. I'm gonna wear it. I'm gonna talk about the outfit, but in my house, and when I go home, I'm gonna try it on and see how I look, and then I'm gonna pass it off as something else. So I feel like it's always being the standard and always being scrutinized. That's not it's a bad thing the way I say it, but I think you're always being watched, so it puts a level of pressure on you to be Black.
I don't know, that's like a tough question to me. I think I never really gave it much thought of what it like means to be Black if I had to write it out or anything. But now that you ask, thinking about it, I feel like I would use like specific words. When I think of Black, I'm like, okay, being Black is powerful, being Black is being adaptable, being Black is being under pressure and like meeting standards that other people probably don't have to meet. I feel like being Black is a lot of different things, but it's like individualized to Black people as like a whole in regards to not just African Americans. A lot of people, like how you said, you're Haitian, same thing for me. I still identify with both, so it's like, and it's other people like Afro-Latinas, and they'll be like, I'm Black, or somebody who's not Haitian, they're from another Caribbean island, they're Black as well. So it's kind of like a big umbrella of what Black can mean, and especially with the diaspora of Africa, how people might interpret it. But for me, it's like a lot of different things. So
I think what you guys mentioned really touches on Du Bois's, concept of the double consciousness and just trying to really live up to two separate identities or multiple identities that are really one and the same. Mm-hmm. Because really only 6% of slaves actually came to the US. Most of them went to South America and, the Caribbean islands and everything like that. So most of us are other places, right. You know what I mean? Especially South America and etc. So they are still Black, you know what I mean? Yeah. They just have a different culture because of where they live and what their traditions are, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I feel like when I travel, I feel more comfortable being outside of my country and being around, you know, Haitians and I feel more comfortable being with them because I feel more at home. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because every time I travel, like if I tell a white person I'm traveling, they'll say, "Oh, make sure you be careful and you know what I mean, be cautious and everything." I'm like, first of all, I'm cautious of you. I'm not cautious I'm not worrying about my brother or my sister because they treat me with love and respect and they don't even know me.
Right.
So I think that, you know, the multiple, you know, identity situation that you guys named, I feel like it's just one and the same, really. Yeah. And it's just people not really being knowledgeable that they are the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What I do think though is that being black in America and being black in like the other places you reference is different. So that's why I like said the experience might be different. So when you speak to different people, clearly everybody's gonna have a different idea. So somebody in a Caribbean island who's black and, you know, yes, we're all in the same, they'll be like, well, for me, this is the experience. It has been like this. And for us, it's been like this. So especially like with how you brought up travel, I feel like it opens your eyes to be able to see what's the similarities and what's the differences. And I feel like a lot of things that I feel like it's always persistent no matter where you go for black people is like the struggle and the pride. Those are like the two things where it's like no matter where you at, it's gonna be like I see the struggle that black people have to go through and I see the pride that we still always have being black. So that's like something that's the two things that can go into the words that people use to describe being black. But
yeah. They say black is not like, I feel like here in the US, black is more than just, it's so much. It's everything that you don't want to have to think about, they put it under the umbrella of being black. Yeah. It's like, if I don't want to think about the struggle and I don't want to think about that, I'm black. By default, everybody's like, oh, she looks kind of mixed, black. Like, they put it under that one drop rule. Everybody is black and everybody's this, but we, even black people, don't have a definition for what black is. Like, oh, it's a black culture. Oh, it's the culture. If it's the culture, then you have to delineate all the different cultures because my culture isn't the same as Black American, and it's not the same as someone from Dominican Republic, and it's not the same. It's not. But if it's just about skin color, then we are all black, and that's fine. We all came from. If it's talking about where we originated from, everybody's black. But if it comes down to culture being a part of what blackness is, then you do have to delineate the different aspects of the black culture because the black culture is a mix of all the different cultures of people from different places. It's everything. So I think that it's a little difficult to identify what blackness is because black people as a whole can't even identify what black is.
There's no consensus.
I think that's because race is a made-up thing. And we didn't make it up. But we have to define what it means for us. And I think in other areas, culturally, they've been able to like cultivate a different environment, like in the Caribbean. But we're all from this one central place. So yeah, blackness in America means something completely different. Because I feel like America is kind of the place where it originated. Meaning blackness as a race. Being black as this is the color of your skin, so this is what you are. And I think that in America, because the Black Americans were, I feel, more displaced, because like you said, only 6% came here. So our culture is way different. I feel like we do a lot more trying to search.
I've had that conversation a lot.
And because of that, we just want to grab onto everything. Like, oh, you Haitian, you black too. You Jamaican, you black too. And that's because we don't really have that in the same way. Like, we weren't allowed to celebrate that the same. And the opportunities we tried to hold on to, like the Black Panthers, for example, everything was like scrutinized and persecuted and shot down and broken down. So it's like we have to have something, so we just want everybody to be like one big happy family.
That's not, like, I know I have a lot of African friends who, like, if you call them black, it's very offensive. Like, I mean, like, they'll be like, no, like, I'm not. And then if you try to group them in with African American, they're like, no, I'm not. I am African. Period. No, because it's like for them, it's a pride thing. It's like we as a country have worked Africans, like we worked so hard to build our name and to do so much to get us to this point of being seen at a higher level. And no shade to Black Americans, but we're seen as the bottom of the barrel, like uncultured. We don't have this, we don't have that. So there's so many negative things associated with being Black. The Africans try their hardest to dissociate that because they've worked hard to bring their culture up, which is good and bad, because you know when you work for something you want to preserve it, and when you come to a country and they're trying to knock everything that you've worked for, your people have worked for, you feel like, no, like I've worked for this, so I don't want to be lumped in. But unfortunately, they get lumped in with the rest of us. Surprisingly, one thing I learned is like even in medicine, most of the Black physicians, which is a small amount of people, are African.
Right, yeah.
But they still consider them Black. But the majority of people, Black physicians that are graduating today, they are all African, fully from Africa, from Nigeria, from Ghana, everywhere. African. And it shocked me. It's like, wow, like we don't really have quote unquote Black physicians because they don't identify as purely Black. So it's just like one of those things of like, do you have to give up what you worked for to fit in, or do you continue to stand out and still get that pushback? Because Black people giving you pushback, white people giving you pushback, and then your culture's giving you pushback. So you have all these different sides to kind of combat.
Because this is my thing about that with the have to share it thing, because I see other like subcategories that has nothing to do with race, like for example Greek life, they're not sharing anything. You know what I'm saying? They see you stepping or they see you doing something, it's like, you're not allowed to do that, period. Don't do that. You didn't go through what we had to go through for you to be able to do what we do. So I think it's more so a divide, and this kind of like a unanimous thing, like, listen, we are in this, we did this, other people are not able to just do and have the privileges that we have within our culture, right? And I think because there's such a divide within Black American culture, where it's like, there's some people who is like, yeah, open arms, and there's some people like, no, put the barricades up, we're not letting nobody in. It's kind of like where it brings like, you have kind of more breaching and people like, oh, I'm able to do this, and somebody's gonna be with me like, hey, my Black friend said it's okay for me to do this, so what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? As opposed, and with Black culture, we're never like, it's very rare that it's like a big yes or a big no. It's always a divide, and we're always like on a toss up of where we stand on different things. So it's kind of hard to define a lot of stuff, because like if you ask one person, they're gonna say, that's cool, yeah, who cares? That's not just exclusive to Black culture. Then you ask somebody else, they might feel differently. So
I don't want to share it though. And I'm just
which is
saying
fine.
because I feel like it blurs the line. Like for example, like you can associate like Haitian culture or like the culture of like a Caribbean island, but what can you say is Black American culture?
I feel like, well, like where you something that hasn't been perpetrated, basically, like something that's been exclusive.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like when you share it, the lines are blurred.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's no longer.
You could say for an example, hip hop. You could say is something that's a part of Black American culture, because that's something that, you know, with jazz is another thing that you could say. But I think just in general, because the U.S. is just a large, very large melting pot. You know, there really isn't a standard that's set for credentials kind of across the board with different ethnicities. So I think that rhetoric like slips into our culture because that's just normal in the U.S. in general.
I just wonder, like, I mean, what does the future look like, or what would we want it to look like, or hope for it to look like? And that's
in my opinion, I feel like Black, even though a lot of like African Americans, clearly the culture to Africa has been displaced because, you know, a lot of people don't know exactly where they came from in Africa. Like, even as somebody who's Haitian American, I don't know exactly where in Africa. Like, I can have like an idea, like, well, I heard most Haitians come from here, but I don't know for sure. But I think it's power in finding those type of things out and like getting closer to your roots and being able to bring that in and not make it such a divide. Because a lot of people, like, for me, when I see a Black person and I identify it just like off face value, like I can look at you and be like, you're clearly Black, that's automatically a connection for me. And I'm like, it's not something where I'm like, well, let me dig deep and like, where are you exactly from? Like, are you Panamanian Black? Are you this Black? It's just like, I know that person's Black. And I want it, the future, I would want it to be more like that, where it's like identified, we have the same roots and it doesn't matter what island I come from or what different, it's like, I know that the Black people in like a whole we're African and we are able to identify that, and that's the connection. A lot of people, I feel like it's a negative thing when we try to separate it and be like, well, I'm this and you're that and we're gonna fight for what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Have you ever been asked if you were something? And for example, I've been asked if I was Haitian, like, or Jamaican, like multiple times.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't know. Like, you know, and then
good answer, actually.
They're like, I don't know. Maybe there's a good chance. We never know.
But I really think that in the future, I hope to see like race or the color of your skin, let's be specific, just the color of your skin, plays such a big role in like who you are as a person, because like we all share the same skin color, so inevitably, whether you have experienced the same thing that I have, we find common ground in it. Like you're treated a certain way because of the way you look or the way that's something we can grapple onto. Your experience may be different, your cultures may be different, but we can grapple onto the fact that we all go through something because of the way we have some type of trial or tribulation because of our skin color. Let's grapple onto that. Our cultures, we can talk about it and share it and, you know, learn about it and be cool with it, but be confident in who you are. Like, yes, I have a darker hue, okay? And I do this, I'm this, I have so much more to me. My culture is this. I really want us to be a race that's not so focused. I feel like even though America focuses on it, we focus on it all the more. Like, we just be like, oh, you Black? Like, why is it? Obviously I'm Black. Like, there's no way I can change my skin tone, but like, why is that important? Like, why can't we just be like, you like that? I like that music too. Like, we chilling, like we vibing. We already know we're Black. We don't need to establish it because I see you and you see me. Like, I'm not blind. When people say I don't see color, that's a lie. So again, we're good. So I just want us to focus more on like the things that we can do to build this culture, because the differences in us make us that much more valuable, because we are so adaptive. We have so much to give. We learn so much. We are top innovators, top creators. Everything that the US has came from somebody Black. So we are capable of doing so much more if we stop focusing on the fact that you have a darker hue or you don't have a darker hue, or you a little light skin, who cares? Can you add value to this culture? Yes, you can. I'm an innovator, I'm a creator, I do this. So like, I want us to focus more on what we can add to make this culture better versus make the Blackness, if it is a culture, at this point it is, better for everybody.
I think it's important to like dismantle like the negative things that's associated with us too. And that's like important, and more people need to be active in doing so, because a lot of times we just sit back and we accept the negative stereotypes and we like go along with it, which kind of gives it power, where it's like somebody looks at you and they're associating like, you know, she probably is very violent, she's a little darker skin toned, in the back of their mind subconsciously, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, let's not feed into the negative things that people associate with us. Let's try to like uplift each other and ourselves, where it's like, I'm representing a whole lot of different things, and it's not the negative things that comes to your mind as soon as you see me, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times people just associate things with you and we carry it through for them, and they're like, well, you see, I told you she's gonna be this.
It's so many different sides to that aspect though, because most times people arrive to their conclusions not because they've actually had any interactions with us or any conversations with us, but because they learned how we are through the media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, like one of my most hated imagery in the media of us is basically like the hypersexuality of Black women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Black women are depicted as like just sexually irresponsible, very promiscuous, very sexual, and so many different, you know, aspects of the word. It's just ridiculous. And it's not even that we embody that in reality, but and I'm just saying from my perspective, I have seen, you know, other Black women taking that information and then want to also like mimic that too. You know what I mean?
Which is what I mean in promoting it.
Right.
Like if a lot of times we promote things subconsciously. It's like where we see that a lot, music. We all know as soon as music videos come, they're like, we want the girls that's gonna be half naked. We want to do this. That's why when we get something different, we feel like it's a breath of fresh air. Like, oh my God, while they had this new music video and everybody had clothes on, and it's just like, why is that like abnormal? You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
not. Why is it?
Because
within our culture, like we don't watch a jazz video and be like, I'm expecting everybody to start twerking and be naked or anything. It's
right.
just like something that's within our culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's something where we promote it because when we do have outlets to put things out in the media, let's not choose to put the stereotypes in there. Let's make things that are different.
Right.
Let's create content that shows different things. Because like you said, that's something you hate. So if you ever had the opportunity, I'm sure you wouldn't make a music video like that. You know what I'm saying?
So in the present, what's some of the like most annoying things that you come across like as a Black woman?
For me, the most annoying thing is the expectations. The expectations are so overwhelming and tedious, and it absolutely drives me insane. And one of the primary expectations that I struggle with is the sacrifices. I feel like we're constantly expected to sacrifice like money, time, effort, tears, like motivation. You know, it's just give me, and it like never stops. And if you take a moment to set a boundary and say, listen, I need to do this for myself, you are immediately selfish, always going to be alone, negative, you know, just everything you could possibly be in the book because you decided to say, no, I'm not going to sacrifice this.
I think for me, I guess it's an expectation, but like the expectation that you always have to be strong. And not just strong, but what other people think strong is. So much so that, like you said, crying, you feel like if you need to cry or you need to take a breath, that there's weakness in that.
Yep.
And you don't get that opportunity. And I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate that space. I guess like I have supportive people around me, but how to negate the thoughts within myself because of like how that's perceived of you.
Oh yeah, I hate crying. Crying makes me so uncomfortable. I get pissed if I'm crying. If I'm crying, I'm angry that you put me in a position to cry.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not even accepting that I feel bad right now. I'm mad that you even put me in a position to feel bad.
Right.
Like, it's not okay that I'm crying.
But that's what I mean. I think, like, sometimes you need that. And I think as Black women, we're robbed of that relief.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Sure.
Oh, yeah. I have been told that I was a bad mother for crying in front of my son before.
What?
Yep. Because...
He cries in front of you.
Right.
It's only fair.
Right. And it was basically like, oh, you're showing your son the way that Black men hurt Black women, and you're gonna have your son thinking that I'm really attacking you or whatever. And it was like I was so dehumanized to a point of like no return. It was like I didn't even have the right to be a human being just because I was in front of men. Because I was, my son, male, whatever. I was in front of men. I didn't have the right to be human.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't enjoy the process of crying, but I do feel like it's a relief. But at the same time, like you said, it's like an internal thing where you're like, it's like a struggle where you're like, I don't want to cry because of me, and then I definitely don't want to cry in front of people, but that doesn't really happen often. And if it did, I identify with it being like, I'm mad that I'm in this position that I feel like, because I'm like, why am I letting this affect me? Like, you're not being strong right now. Hold it together. Like, that's the mental talk you have with yourself. And it's like, why do I have to be that way? But it's kind of like it's a part of the personality now. It's like, you know, people are not expecting me to cry either. Like, I've had times where I've shown like emotion and people will be like shocked and literally tell me like, you're just so always like happy and stuff like that. I didn't expect, I didn't know. And it's just like, it makes me feel bad. Like, dang, like I'm shifting from what people think I am. I need to stay in line and keep laughing and keep, you know, whatever image people have of me like in line, because it's like clearly crying isn't on the list, or clearly being emotional. They're like, yo, Claudia start crying, I know what to do. And I'm like, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable either, because I know when people start crying around me, I'm like, should I hug them? I don't know what to do. So, and I think that's a deeper thing of, not only do we not know how to sometimes handle our own like vulnerability. That's a hard word. But other people being vulnerable either. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's really deep. Because I often think, okay, when I have kids, am I going to be able to be like what people imagine like a typical mom to be, like that nurturing and understand? And I would hope I would be able to. But I don't think that in my family, it was represented to me through my mom. Like having somebody who's like, she cries a lot or something like that, where it's like emotions, like crying was rare growing up. Now it's kind of like a little different, because I guess everybody getting older and they just like, we're sick of it, we're not holding it together no more. But growing up, it was always like, all I seen was strength in people not breaking down. So that's all I kind of knew. It was like, you gotta just pick up and do what you gotta do. Crying not gonna help you. Like,
I think there's a misconception though, because you know, I think they try. We didn't see them cry, but that don't mean they wasn't crying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of jaded our perception a little bit around like crying and feeling. Because I will literally like go into my head and be like, "You for real? You gonna be weak right now? You gonna be weak?"
That's, you
like my
internal,
like my internal monologue just starts going, and I know that's just like insecurities that were installed in me, that, you know, I have to consciously work hard to overcome to accept the reality of who I am, which kind of ties back into me embracing who I am as a Black woman. You know what I mean? That's a part of it. You know what I mean? Literally, if I want to cry, this is who I am, I'm going to cry.
I don't think I cry. Like, it's bad, but like, when it comes to crying, like my mom growing up, I saw her cry, and I think that for me, it was that kind of traumatized me more than if she never cried. Like, it just put this desire in me to like never cry. And like, even when I'm hurt or I'm mad or I'm sad or I'm upset or something, I won't let myself cry. Because one, I feel like that's weakness. And two, I feel like the way that I frame it in my head to make myself feel better about not letting myself be emotional is like, there are people out here dealing with so much worse.
Right.
Yeah, but that doesn't take away from your
It doesn't, but that's how I frame it in my head. Like, every time I like feel bad about something, or I'm really discouraged, or I feel like, dang, like I need a moment, I always tell myself there's somebody that's going something worse, could be worse. So you don't have a right to be this upset, and you don't have a right to cry, and you don't have a right to do this. And when I frame it like that, I feel guilty if I cry. Like, I literally guilt trip myself into not crying. And it's really bad, but I will sit there and be like, you don't have a right to cry, pull it together, get yourself together. And like 2 minutes later, I collect my things, I walk out the house, and I'm like, oh, it's a good day.
Do you remember the last time you cried?
Nope.
Wow.
Do you feel like you're emotional?
I'm not an emotional person at all. I'm very like I can give emotion to people, but I'm not good with receiving emotions. Like I'm not good with like when people like I don't like when people buy me things. I don't like when people like I just don't like it. Like for me, I'm not good with getting love, and I think it's more so like after like doing some soul searching and kind of like just internalizing and learning myself a little better. I feel like the reason why I'm like that is because I'm so used to not getting that from someone. I'm so used to being the person that's constantly giving and enabling and teaching and pouring out and doing all these great things for people, but I'm never getting it back. So I've gotten to a place where I'm comfortable with people not giving me what I need.
And uncomfortable when it actually is presented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that could be a control thing?
It is 100% a control thing. I have 100% a control thing. I have that, like, I do have that, like, control issues and like perfection. Like I feel like that's something I need to do. Like if I don't meet or do that, then I'm doing a disservice to the people around me, and I'm doing a disservice to myself, and I'm failing. So like for me, I put addition to all the pressures that society puts on me, I put like a heap of pressure on myself. So I'm just literally walking around like a flattened pancake because I just like have all this pressure on me, and I don't cry. Like my sister doesn't see me cry, and she's like, I don't remember last time I saw you cry. Like, I just don't. Like I don't get emotional, and I think I will want to at some point, but it's just
She said at some
Oh
point,
my
like
goodness.
it's like
I know.
when I wanted to
try, and I'm just like trying to squeeze it out.
I might plan it in for 2022.
I don't know, but I can. But I could cry. Like I won't cry like emotionally about something, but like if I watch a movie, like I might cry because I'm sad about the movie, but like not like anything personal to me. Like I cry. If last time I cried, I watched Just Mercy and I cried. Like I cried at one of the scenes, and it wasn't like a sob or anything. I just felt bad for the person, and I was like, dang, like that's really sad. And I wiped my tears and I went home. Like I don't know what it is. Like I can't just get myself to cry. And I'm like, when it comes to comforting and loving people, I'm really good at that. Like I'm good at like hugging. Like crying always makes me uncomfortable in general, but like I'm good with like conversation and getting the person to like not think about it and feel better. But like I can't really remember a time that I like just cried.
I used to be like that, and then I realized that it wasn't even me that was like that. It was just like the expectation that I was supposed to be like that. And then when I really started, I feel like recently, like in the last couple of years, I like really started to think about like, who is Claudia as a person outside of other expectations? And I'm like, I'm actually sensitive as much as people would expect it. They're like, you can't be sensitive. I'm like, no, I am. And that's why I'm so blunt and stuff like that, because the sensitivity comes with defensiveness where I'm like, you're not crossing me. Like, we'll spar on this one. But it's because I'm protective of my feelings, because I'm like, I know I'll get deeply hurt. But my being deeply hurt might look differently from what somebody else might start bawling. And for me, I'm like, don't cry, girl. Pick yourself up and verbally attack that person back. That's how I switched it up. But the deeper root is that I'm sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, but I didn't realize that, and I'm like, well, how are you just now finding out that you're sensitive? Like that's wild to me. And I'm like, because it's out as Black women, we're not allowed to show it. Or not expected to show it in the traditional ways. So being not used to just crying and stuff like that, it's like, well, I don't think I'm sensitive, no. But I'm like, no, I actually really am. And a bunch of other things, whereas you have to kind of unpack and be like, who am I as a person outside of what other people are, the lens other people are seeing me through. Right. Because sometimes we look at ourselves based off of what other people are saying, but it's like, who are you actually when you go home? Like, if you know when you go home, everything that you face outside is like tearing you up, and you're emotional about it, but on the outside, the mask you're putting on is different, then that's not really who you are, just because that's who you are in the public. Who you are when you're by yourself is more real than what it is that you're presenting to people. So that's and in regards to your question about what annoys me, I was really thinking deep about this, and I think that it's for me, what annoys me is perceptions that people have about who I am before they like really know me, like,
Mm-hmm.
and based off of the perception that they have in general of Black women. So it'll be like, oh, and I feel like it comes up most in dating, and I'm like really annoyed by it because it's like really subconscious, and I realize that the interaction will be like they don't even realize that they're projecting things, but it's just annoying to pick up on the projection. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of an example, but it's kind of hard. But
No, I'm definitely there.
yeah, I don't know.
Right,
it's like if you're dating somebody and they'll say something like, you know, I don't usually date whatever, this and that, right? Cool, we all hear that all the time or whatever, because this and this, whatever reasoning, and then like they'll go into who they do usually date, and I'm like, so these people do not exhibit these traits ever in life. Like this is exclusive to Black women. Where like,
like
one thing.
it's you a favor. Like
Yeah.
I don't usually date light skins, but
yeah, you are
like
a different kind of.
Thank you
and
so
I'm
much. So you
I
can do
can
me a
say-
favor.
Like one of the primary reactions that I get with dating is being a single mom. Like, it's so many different prejudices that come with being a single mom, and it's like, whoa, let me explain something. Before I was a mother, I was a person, and being that person, I had different characteristics that I still have. So, for example, I'm goal-oriented, detail-oriented, ambitious, aggressive, competitive. I go get mine. Do you have a problem? Like,
Keep
like,
going.
it's a-
Keep going.
right. So, like, I can really identify with, oh, I really don't usually date women with children, but you just so different. And it's like,
Really?
you know, if you met poor mothers, they were probably poor to begin with, in mind, spirit, etc. They didn't just become that way because they gave birth. Like,
Right.
those are two separate entities. I don't know if anyone told you that, but just FYI. So I can definitely.
Man, what's annoying is just dating as a Black woman, period.
Period.
Like, it's just period. Like I just can't.
Period.
It's just that's the answer to the question. Dating as a Black woman is the biggest annoyance as a
In
Black
the
woman to
world.
me. Cause I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
It's the ghetto.
Would not recommend.
It's the ghetto. It is the ghetto.
Oh, I feel like we have such like high expectations for ourselves to not fail. Like, it's like succeed all the time. Like, what's the next level? You know, always setting goals and everything. Like, at least from the Black women that I interact with, they're like very ambitious and you know what I mean, meet deadlines and everything like that. And then it's like the guys that we come into, you know, they license suspended.
Which is crazy
You know.
because I talk to a lot of guys who feel like I can't find a good Black woman, and I'm like,
Well,
I'm surrounded by great
well.
exemplar. Like, how are you not able to like?
No, I found that when they say that, okay, this is one thing someone told me. I was going to drop this bomb. It really made me think. We had like this conversation about love. And one of the things the person says is like, we have all these requirements as women about the men that we're dating. Gotta be 5 foot something. Gotta do this.
What?
Yo,
Y'all already said I'm 10 feet tall, so I don't know.
You gotta be 6 feet. You gotta be this. You gotta have this. You gotta have your life together, right? And he said, okay, let's say you meet this person. Would you be the type of person that he would be looking for in your current state? You want all these things out of this man, but would you have all the characteristics that you want from him and what he would want from you? And I was like, dang. I never thought about it like that.
I always have.
like that.
I didn't, but I didn't think about it like that. For me, when she said it that way, it didn't really hit me. But you think about it, I'm like, I do possess a lot of characteristics that I'm looking for in a person. But what we think of when we think we're looking for men is like financial stability and all this great stuff. But when she said that, that really kind of put it in perspective, because as women, we want so much from this guy. Really, we do. And vice versa. And what I found is that, like, what we look for is like it's really not important in the grand scheme of things, because what you're lacking, the other person should be able to complement in a way, shape, or form. And you could stand, what you should be looking for is to learn from that, be able to learn for the person and constantly exchange that learning experience. If you are not financially sound, but you know how to make money, and he's financially sound, he can teach you how to keep your money. And, and if you are like really smart and you're a planner and he's not good with details and planning, you can add that to him, but he can teach you financial stability, and now you guys have a good working relationship. So I think that it's a 2 for 2. Like, dating for Black men is a little weird too, in the dating for Black women, because there are more Black women than there are Black men.
Right.
Yeah.
And the pool of women in general is way bigger for Black men.
Right.
So it's always that too. I don't side with them because I am a Black woman. I'm just saying.
But well, that goes into, okay, the pool is bigger, and do we feel as though that's justified in saying that, I can't find, because I don't know, I don't date Black women, so I don't know what they are encountering out there.
Well, you know what?
I don't know.
It's so many different sides to that. Because naturally, like, I think what the men have been taught in like the media, as far as I think sometimes they don't really know what attractive women are. You know what I mean? So what they think they want, they don't really want. For example, I have dated men that said, "Oh, I hate makeup and weave," you know. But listen, I've dated men that have said that, "I hate this, that, and the third." But if they see Rihanna, Beyonce, or whatever, it's like, oh damn, you know, that's my boo. Da 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 da. And it's like, why is that your boo?
She's wearing a wig,
right? You know,
she's wearing a wig.
That booty is not real.
Right. So I think it takes time for them to really like understand what they want, and I definitely agree with not being evenly yoked with someone. You know what I mean? Because honestly, when I look for a partner, you know, what I look for in a partner is like, first of all, match my energy. Like, number one, if I'm putting in this amount of effort to blah blah, if you starting a business and I'm doing X, Y, and Z to help you and support you in your business, you know, I'm gonna need some of that energy reciprocated.
Yeah.
Number two, simple things. Be kind to me. Like, I feel like
it's such a misnomer just to do those things.
Yo, it is.
It's like you got asked for it. Like,
right.
So you expect me to take you beating me up.
Right. And they don't,
that's how you are, right?
I feel like a lot of men in our culture, like, they deal with a ridiculous level of toxic masculinity that they have to try to overcome, that they don't know that they're mistreating us. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. When their reactions, you know, the lack of empathy, you know, it's a bunch of different things, and they don't even know that they being mentally right. Like, back to that.
Do that.
Right. So what I think of, you know, is I always try to be like very open. I really try to communicate my wants and my needs very effectively. You know, it don't always work, but eventually over time, usually it work a little bit. But I'm just saying, and then also I take that same rhetoric and I instill it in my son.
That's good.
Because it's like, you know,
mama.
Right. Like, I think about the future, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I don't want women of his time to be able, my son is very emotional. He's a Pisces, he's a water sign, he's very, know that he'll cry at the drop of it. But, you know, he's also very passionate and very reactive. You know what I mean? So I teach him to accept those, you know, emotions, right, and learn how to process them. Not all men want to really be that way, but it's like
you feel like you have to,
right, instead of just embracing who you are. You know what I mean?
Major key.
Right. If it just comes back to, you know, just be yourself and kind of go from there. Then once you decide to be yourself, now you can organize your thoughts.
And figure out what you really want.
Right, what you want. Like, what do I want to do? Blah, blah, blah. But it's like, baby girl knocking on 30. Like, I don't have time to sit down with you know, I'm a mother, I got this going on, I got that going on. Like, I'm looking at my next steps in life. So it's like, I'm gonna need you to have certain tools in your toolbox already before we start building.
Right.
So that we, you know, not saying I don't know tools, I could go to Home Depot too. But you know, our tools match. It's like, all right, you got a little bit more, I got a little bit more, but we could work with this.
I got the screwdriver.
See,
we could work with this.
That's one of my things is like building a man. Like, I think that as a woman in 2020, as a black woman in general, it's just like there's this need for like you to raise these men. Like, it's your job to raise them and to make them into men. And I hate that. And I'm like, you should have learned home training from your mother. You should have learned training from your home. Like, someone said to me, like, I'm not in the business of doing any exterior designing. I'm doing all interior designing. Meaning, like, I'm not here to build your external, like, capabilities. I'm here to build your heart, build your mind. All the things that you really need in life. And I was like, that's so true. But, like, it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, you get men and they expect you to be their mother. Like, oh, you doing this, you doing that. But then they consider you the side woman. And I'm like, if you tell me I'm the side woman, you're getting side dishes. You get all the corner. Like, you don't expect that from me, but they expect it. Like, they expect you to treat them in a certain way as not even like being in that role with them. And I also just don't like that you make them have to do all this stuff to build you up, but you're tearing them down as they're building you up. And then you leave and you are this whole man for this next party, and you over here in shambles trying to pick up your nose, your arm, like that, and it's so unfair. And it's like they think that that's okay, because to them it's like that's what you're here for. Like, I don't know what the thought process is. I can't say that I understand their mentality, but I think that is really unfair that most of the time I hear a lot of women, my cousin asked this question of like, did you marry for love? And I was so surprised by all the women who responded. Was like, no, it was convenient, he was nice, so I married him. And I was like, what?
Bare minimum. He was nice.
What?
That means it was rare.
And then someone else said that they still love their ex. That's the true love, but this person's a good father, and he's this, and he's this, and he's this. And I'm like, what?
I can't relate.
That's a blessing. That's good. I don't want to relate to that. Like,
I don't know, but I really just. But it's interesting to hear all these things. And some women just be like, you know, the person that I really wanted to be with, like, they weren't ready at the time. But how long are you supposed to wait for somebody to get ready?
Love.
Never.
Like,
wait, or recognize that they have like traumas.
Yes.
That they need to heal from. Like, that they need to do a lot of. You know,
so, but how many men,
self-work.
how many black men are capable of doing that? Because they're taught at a young age that it's not okay to be inferior, it's not okay to be angry. Which wraps into why when they're older, they don't take that time to introspect, because they don't feel like they have the time to introspect. But they got all the time to waste your time, but no time to
It's crazy, because I feel like sometimes when you pour energy into people in that way, like we're describing, at the end of it, you don't even want the finished product.
No,
it's like you feel like you like, listen, I done been through. I feel like I've done that, and I don't feel as though like the finished product was what, even though I seen the progress, it's sad to say, but it's just kind of like the experience was traumatic for me. I'm not a therapist, so helping you was traumatizing to me. So now you reminded me of trauma. I'm like, all I had to do was I'm like, now you're triggering. Like, and I'm happy that you're building yourself up to be better, but I don't want the finished product all the way.
Right.
And to go off your past thought about kind of analyzing, am I all the things that I expect out of somebody else? The only time I've ever really felt like any type of inadequacy was always something physical. It's never been like I felt like I wasn't smart enough or I wasn't going to be in the right text. I don't want no millionaire, so that's never been a problem. I mean, if I find one,
that'd be great.
But that's not like something that's on the list or anything. It's always been something physical, and I'm like, well, will I be attractive enough to this person? And it's like, why should I feel that way? Which is kind of a weird thought, because it's like, you're going to be attracted to whoever you're attractive to, clearly.
Right.
But in regards to dating another black person, it's a will I be attractive to them? Like, well, you know, am I thick enough? Like, do I look like whatever he might be attracted to? Is my skin too dark? I don't know I'm not sure if he will like me. And it's kind of like, why do I feel that way? That's not normal, and I don't feel like other races feel that way. Like, do you think he will like me? Am I blonde enough? Like, I don't think anybody else has that thought. And it's weird. So
I feel like even though our circle of black men can be very supportive of us, I don't feel like they always exhibit that same support to black women outside of us. And I say this because, like, I've seen my brother mistreat women.
Right.
And it's like, though, you would never want somebody to do that to me. And, you know, I try to be understanding of, like, black men that come from his type of, like, background that interact with me, like, on a dating level. And I would say, I would kind of justify, like, negative actions against me, you know, and say, well, I watched my brother do this to another woman, and I've listened to his perspective on how he felt in that circumstance. So maybe I should be a little bit more understanding about why he might be mistreating me. You know what I mean?
I'm like tossed up with the how understanding should I be?
Right.
And there it's like, you gotta draw the line, he's tripping. Like, it's
honestly, I think when it comes down to mistreatment, I don't think there should be any understanding.
Right.
You know what I mean? There should be no acceptance, and there should be no level of, you know, understanding when someone decides to mistreat you, especially if you brought it to their attention and you told them how it made you feel and X, Y, and Z, and the next thing you know, it happens again. You know what I mean? And then it becomes a cycle because, you know, the boundary was crossed from the jump, and like it wasn't stopped really. You know what I mean? So I struggle with that. It's like, you know, I can watch the men in my circle be so supportive toward me and the women that are important to them, but when you take that aspect out of it, that's just a hoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying you a hoe, but that's a hoe. But you my mom, you my sister, you my wife. It's different.
I don't know how that's different.
I really do, like, genuinely agree with everything that everybody said. Like, I think that I don't feel that way in my circle. Like, with people that I'm close to, I feel support from them, but I don't feel support from other black men. And, like, even witnessing it, like, you could see something on social media.
Right.
And it's just like the disrespect is
at an all-time high.
Yeah, wow, out of this world. And I feel like the growth needs to come from them listening. Like, I've seen so many people like tear black women down and literally tell them that their experience is false and that what they're feeling is wrong and that's not how it is. And I think that until they accept how we feel and what they've put us through and what we're saying they should do to fix this, then it's never going to get better. But there's always room for growth.
Yeah, I think it's a scale on both sides. It's probably the exact same feelings, maybe. So we'll work on it together.
I don't think it's the same thing. Whatever.
This was a great conversation, though. I had a good time. I hope that everyone enjoyed watching. And until next time, enjoy the remainder of your Black History Month.
Gang.